Good evening, and thank you so much for having this special session for us. And of course, all women want to be equal, but they also want to be special. So we are no different as radiologists. And we'll start straight away. Of course, everybody knows that Dr. Bhargav is the first woman radiologist of India, and she's a legend. So she has seen the entire unfolding of radiology, and so we will start from the beginning, as they say, no? Let's start at the very beginning. So, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Nandini, for giving me this opportunity to share my journey with you all, which I would say is now 6.5 decades long career. Since this panel is really to talk about women, I'll start with that. I would say that in my 6.5 decades long career, I have been very fortunate and have had the support of my family, unstinting support, whether it was my parents, my husband, and now my children, all of them, and my professional colleagues, cut across all specialities and subspecialties. This enabled me to grow, and I am very thankful to all of them for having given me the opportunity to be able to grow. So as women, we do need the family support in order to get along, because we all know that this is a man's world. In spite of being a man's world, it does not mean women cannot survive. We survive and even outclass men when it is required. Now, in my journey, you would say that if you say it's a man's world, how come you became director of All India Institute? Well, of course, 70 years of All India Institute, I am the only female director. And while during the period in which the director has to be appointed, I was caught in the corridor and one of my colleagues came and told me, the bus in Nirman Bhavan is, can a woman run AIIMS? And my immediate reply was, Mrs. Gandhi at that time was the Prime Minister. I said, if Mrs. Gandhi can run India, I surely can run AIIMS. So as far as profession is concerned, I don't think there's anything to choose between a man and a woman. All my competitors for the director's post were men, and I did get selected. I may also tell you in my journey that the Appointments Committee of the Cabinet usually approves the post of the director of AIIMS or any top post. Mrs. Gandhi had approved my post. The health minister had told me that we are going to give the burden of AIIMS on your shoulders. Will you be able to take it? And I said, yes. If you give me the responsibility, I'll do my best. But what I want to tell you is that the day my appointment had to be confirmed by the institute body, Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated that very day. And I had the responsibility of ringing up the institute body and telling them that the Prime Minister has been brought to casualty, because I was at that time chairman of the Hospital Management Board, and we received Mrs. Gandhi with her 2 lieutenants who came with her to the casualty. And the immediate response of my friends was, with Mrs. Gandhi gone, your appointment will not be confirmed. It's a man's world. And I laughed and said, well, if it's not confirmed, it's not confirmed. I haven't taken charge, so there's nothing for me to worry. But 13 days of national mourning, and on the 14th, I got my appointment letter. So as far as Government of India was confirmed, I don't think they did distinguish between men and women. I had a very comfortable 6 years of directorship and did learn during that period that yes, it is a man's world, but women have the capacity not only to have a work-life balance, which is necessary for all of us. We have the capacity to go into academics. We have the capacity to improve our CVs. We have the capacity for conflict management. The only thing we don't have is the art of selling yourself. And that, I think, over a period of time, we as women must learn the art of self-promotion. And I did not understand this when I was younger, but over the years, I was told at my first interview, when I asked the interview board members, how did I fare? They said, you fared all right, but you must learn how to sell yourself. Unfortunately, throughout my career, I did not learn that art. But I think it is an art that women have to learn. We know conflict management, we know how to manage our work life, but self-promotion is something you have to learn. Now, with reference to women and men, I read a few statistics which may be interesting to know, that it's a 2018 data from 26 countries covering 184,000 radiologists. It works out that 1 in every 3 radiologists is a female. That is global figures. The US figures are a little different. They do not have, they at the total, in 17 imaging institutions, 48.5% are women. Nearly half of the radiologists are women as a global figure. With the US, they say less, 25% of radiologists are women, and very little vice chairs, departmental heads, on journals, editorial boards of journals, women are less. These are the US figures. As far as India is concerned, I called the Indian Association of Radiologists, Imaging Association. They told me they have 12,000 members, but they have no figures to tell us how many of these 12,000 members, how many are women. So I think that is something we can ask them to do so that we know where we stand in the number, in the counts. Now, what did I do as Director AIIMS? Should I have promoted women? No, I could not. As Director, I had to treat men and women on equal footing, which I think when there's men at the head of affairs, they tend to take more men, whether it is a meeting that is to be organized, someone to be sent abroad for something. It has always been the men. The women rarely get a chance there. But I don't think you should lose heart. And I have a quote to say that we, or you, the women in radiology, you are as strong as rum, as cool as beer, as classic as whiskey, as fine as wine, and as sophisticated as vodka. So I raise my glass to you.
That was so heartwarming, truly. So moving ahead, I would like to talk, and we also invite audience participation once Dr. Bhargav has said her piece, because with ma'am, none of us can compare to her journey, so no participation is anticipated. So there is a feeling amongst women that there is a great male brotherhood and after hours bonding. You know, women are more homebound, and women are greater clock watchers than men are. And nobody likes clock watchers in any institute. So women, by virtue of biology or by the way they are nurturers, they are clock watchers, and they hang around the tea place less, they step out for a smoke less, and they somehow don't fraternize as much as men do. And this is to their disadvantage. So I would like Bhargav to share her views about this.
It's true, because that is important. A woman's work is there at home. And I'm so happy that ma'am seemed to answer almost all the questions I had. Because one thing I found that the support with your in-laws is very important. I always tell my lady registrars, don't fight with your mother-in-law. She's the best asset that you can ever have. In fact, I used to make my mother and my mother-in-law tell them, if you're not looking after, my mother-in-law will look after. So, but that is something that is a responsibility we have. Yes, fraternizing is not a good thing, and this affects, because most of the deals are made in golf courses and finance, so I think we have to remember that. But it should not come in the way of promotions. It should not come in the way of how we do our work. So that is something that we have to resist. If there is a promotion which is pending, just because you didn't talk with somebody and you didn't know that it was not there, you fight for it, is what I think we should. Because sometimes you don't even know that there is a trip that is to be taken advantage of, which you might miss because of lack of networking. But when it is there and you found it, please tell, because in India, that way it's level, you can tell, and at the worst they'll say she is just one, haughty woman. But at least next time they'll be aware of it. So this thing is there. I believe in both private and in public, it is there. Though I've had male bosses who've been very nice to me. A lot of times, Professor Gajraj and Dr. Iqbal who've been very nice. But we have to fight and resist.
Anyone from the audience would like to add anything about this?
I would just like to add one thing. We definitely need to fight and resist, but I think we need to, group up a bit as women radiologists, we need to get together. Like men have all these forums and they have these small groups, but I think we need to capitalize on the fact that we now have a lot of women in radiology. But I don't see a forum in place where we can just have women getting together, informing each other about what is happening. So we can really fight the fact that
I think we're going to do something about it. This meeting definitely has ensured. And the WhatsApp group we thought is...
And we've had men to really call us together.
Yeah.
I really
So we thank them
all
too.
of them. I really thank all of them for having us here together. But I think we should take an advantage out of it and start regrouping.
Actually, she's already started it this morning, and she's already named our group. Would you like to announce that or
Imaging Divas.
Okay, that's good.
Can I just say something? My experience actually has been quite different. I enjoy the attention and adulation of my male colleagues. I get plenty of preference from my male colleagues, and the reason I think that is because I engage them in the course of my work. So if there is a referral to me, let's say for something, an acute appendicitis or a lump in the abdomen, whatever it is, I always call my surgeon back. I talk to him about what his challenges are, what he needs from me. And once he's done with the case, I call him back and ask him how well he did, what did he find that I did not find, was it something else I could do next time? And I open the dialogue with my male, not just male, but all colleagues. Women, we tend to naturally talk to them. But when you are faced with a surgeon, you can get kind of intimidated. So I think lady radiologists, I think what they need to do is be confident, improve their training, up their skills, and go out there and engage with the clinician, especially male clinicians, and bring those referrals in. I get a lot of referrals for biopsies. I don't do biopsies. I send them all to Bhargav because she does biopsies. But my male colleagues will come to me and say, Rochita, can you do the biopsy? You did the diagnosis, that was okay, now can you do it? So what I think is lacking is that self-confidence, that necessary skill building, upping the skill, and that open, uninhibited dialogue with your male colleagues as if you are one of the men. I always felt I was like one of the guys, so I was wondering what I'm doing in a lady-oriented program. But that's what I think is also important.
I agree with you that how confident we wouldn't be sitting here if we were not fighting against that. But there is something that is patriarchy, which we ourselves are guilty of. Like I have a son and a daughter. I'm always worried that the daughter should come a little late. Till my daughter told me, how come? So many things are there which we have to actually make a call on those things. Okay? So when people say that this lady is coming late, she has a problem, you try to ask and find out, and that helps. And the same thing you hold for men also. But women in their prime of youth, they have problems. So we have to have empathy. You don't have to be partial, but you have to be empathetic.
Taking it forward, I would like to ask Dr. Ashu two things. One is, since she is at AIIMS, how does she see the role of women in academia? And she also does intervention. So interventions and intervention radiology is where we find the gap the most. You probably have 100 men doing interventions to one woman. So her views, and then if the audience would like to add.
Yes, so I'm just going to answer two parts of this question. One being women in academic radiology. Second being women in radiology professional bodies, since Madam raised this question of IRIA and other several professional bodies. And thirdly, women in IR. First, women in academic radiology. Broadly in India, it's not such a big problem. In most of the medical colleges, you have a lot of women, and I think women in the corporate world face bigger challenges. But if you see the AWR meetings, that American Association of Women Radiologists, Their problem always is that you have so many assistant professors, but by the time, as Madam says, that why don't you have a director? Or why don't you, even there, you don't have so many professors. The number of people who fall out at the level of, so unlike several medical colleges where progression is time-based, in AIIMS it is competitive and every time you appear for an interview. And the way we tackle it is at least what I think is mentorship, mentorship, mentorship. When it comes to academic radiology, you just have to adopt some other women as your children, whether it looks like favoritism or you have to, the women who have been privileged enough to reach some position of power have to empower other people. I tell them, why didn't you take out? You have to take out 2 good original articles in a year. You don't do it, they said, ma'am, maid ran away. No, come at 7 in the morning, put in enough. Things like this, whatever it is. Sometimes you even have to fight their battles in forums. So mentorship is the answer to women radiologists. Second question is women in professional bodies. 12,000 IRI members, at least we had 1 women director. How many IRIA presidents were women? Yeah? Because elections everywhere are dirty, and honestly, as she said, we cannot play dirt. That is the truth. We cannot play dirt. If you want women representation in professional bodies, it cannot be through a dirty election. You create bodies where you put people with some eminence and place them there as non-elected representatives. They may rotate amongst themselves. There may be people there for 3 years, for 4 years, for 5 years, but you create academic bodies. Every post in professional bodies does not have to be elected. Elected is dirty. The moment somebody asks me to become something in a professional body, I say, do I have to fight an election? If it's an election, I'm out. I don't have money, I don't have time, I cannot run down other people, I can't do it. So professional bodies have to introspect and see for the number of women members they have, how many people have they put as representatives who can speak about women's interests. That is professional bodies. So that applies not just to IRIA, it applies to everybody in every subspecialty who's running a professional body. People on top have to be proportional to the number of members you have. How you create positions for them? Now, thirdly, we come to IR. So it pains me immensely, 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 and even at the risk of being labeled Kangna Ranaut of IR, I will speak, because what happens is that, as you said, we can be counted on our fingertips. And I have no global solution to this problem, but I can only say, how did I survive in IR? I survived in IR because I work in an academic institution and it's not obligatory for me to do IR 6 days a week. I do it 2 days a week. Yeah, so when you are a community, we are a team. We are a team of, suppose, like I do thoracic head and neck, we are a team of 4 or 5 people. If I'm away on mat leave, it's all right. My colleague will pitch in and do it. But then when I'm back from mat leave, it doesn't mean I can be thrown out of the specialty. Women may not be able to take so much radiation. They may not, for a certain period in their life. They may not be able to take that much emergency calls, but that does not mean they can be removed from the subspecialty. They bring a lot of value to if you want to be an old boys club, you don't want women, it's and if I bring it up, I have never faced any discrimination in my life, except in IR forums. If I ever say why there are no women here, women get pregnant, they don't want to work in gynae. So, is affirmative action required? What is affirmative action? Whose responsibility is it to provide affirmative action? Yes. The government has to provide affirmative action. People in position of power have to provide affirmative action. If you don't have women representation in certain areas, so you have to think, how do I provide solutions? So as Madam said, we are here not to survive, but to thrive and to break every glass ceiling that exists. And wherever we are not adequately represented, what we are doing well, we are doing well. But it's what we are not getting adequate representation. If you don't want to think about it, you are welcome to run your old boys clubs the way you want to.
Would anyone like to add? I would like a male point of view on this. Come on, someone. Yes, please.
I love that, Ashu. I completely endorse that. So I go out drinking with 4 girlfriends once in 3 months. And we call that group the sisterhood of the brothers. So that's all I want to tell.
So now we know that you go drinking with girlfriends. What are you trying to do?
Serious sisterhood of the brothers is what I'm trying to do. The focus is on the sisterhood.
Hi, I just wanted to add, I'm Dr. Carestream and my mentor, Dr. Harsh Mahajan, is sitting here. Mentorship is the most important thing, but it is not just the girl's job. I am really lucky to have a mentor who's pushing me everywhere. He makes me work 6 hours a day. Flexible working hours are extremely important for women to take care of their families. And mentor, be it a man or be it a woman, has to understand this. That in 6 hours, I don't think I work any less than the 8-hour guy. So you have to understand that flexible working hours are important, even in the hospital setup. Dr. Bharat, if you're listening. In the hospital setup also, flexible working hours and limited hours are important. And So I'm saying that this, the mentors are important. And I wanted to add on one thing regarding the data that Madam said. There are 16,000 members of IRA, 6,000 are women, so we are 36%. I recently wrote an article for Express Healthcare regarding women in radiology in India. So we are better off than US. It's a, they are 23% in US and 36% women in India. Yeah.
So
that is all over.
No, just to respond to you about hospitals, and on a serious note, there are we have a bunch of women radiologists who work part-time with us. I have part-time because they don't put in the 8-hour HR-related activity that is considered full-time. It's not it is a certain time they give, which is HR. 2 of my colleagues, and there are some max radiologists here, women doctors, had problems at home with their children. And without talking to the HR, we reduced their hours to suit their needs at home. So it's not as if it doesn't happen in hospital settings, it happens there. Just a perspective on mat leave, Ashu, this is something which, there are 2 sides to the coin. We are very open to our women radiologists taking mat leave. We give the full 6 months that are there. But there are bad forms on both sides. In the last 2 years, we've had 2 doctors who took the full 6 months mat leave, came back and resigned within a week of taking that mat leave. So everything has a pro.
You give love a bad name. Like some people will give things a bad name, you still love it.
So I'm saying that it works both ways. And it can be abused. It should not be taken as a deterrent. But it works everywhere. It depends on organization's work.
I think one of the things here is we tried this at the Maharashtra state level. It hasn't worked. I still remember Ashu's words, when we did that SSH thing, just when I was incoming president of the IRI, we've done this subspeciality thing, and I asked Ashu to attend an IRI meeting, Central Council meeting, and she said, I will not come to a testosterone-driven meeting. And it's the first time I heard that phrase, coming and saying, I'm not coming into a room full of testosterone-driven men. And so we thought perhaps, we could have reservation in IRI 33%. No. And without reservation, you're not going to have that. So it can be a temporary phenomenon where you at least have inclusiveness happening. The moment that is over with over 5 years or 8 years and there are people in, then it's how did this meeting happen? Last meeting we had 4 women. So we mandated that half the audience has to be women. Now that's not reservation, but it's changed the entire meeting. I mean, at least 3 people have come in and said that the kind of discussions that we've had earlier and are having today are completely different from last year's meeting. It makes a difference. But you have to set, have to mandate something to have that happen. And then after that, hopefully next year it will continue as it is.
So what Bharat said, it's a lesson to women also. don't make yourself so frivolous that nobody takes you seriously. What she said, it's not something which is to be taken personally. You make business, you talk business, you work business, don't make yourself frivolous. Work is work. That is one thing. And secondly, affirmative action is required at certain points. There are various ways of discussing it, whether it's a reservation or, as I said, if you create some permanent, like we have done in our chess society, we have permanent academic bodies which are non-elected bodies, like some may be called, case upgrading, whatever. There are several academic committees. You can have several committees which are not through an election. You can put people of like Rajya Sabha.
In terms of reservation, I just want to talk about this. Men need not apply. Universities set to open jobs just to women. This is happening in a Dutch engineering university, where it is taking radical action to increase its share of female academics by opening the job vacancies to women only. And that's kept open for 6 months, after which they don't leave the position open, they fill it up. So why don't we do something? This is affirmative action, and this is why this time's Lok Sabha had more women, because they sought to it. And that is something. And Rajya Sabha, we have 2 houses, so have an academic body where you're totally well represented. Another point I just want to say, because there are so many of us radiologists in senior positions, a lot of times women are just told, you screen breasts. I'm a breast radiologist. But when it comes to doing biopsies, there is no norm and format. I know that in reputed institutions itself, people who don't read mammograms do biopsies. I mean, Rochita is kind, she's smart, and she's a woman. Okay, and that's not because she's a woman she's referring, because I know have knowledge. But we should encourage this kind of proper channelizing of our work.
Yeah. Taking off from what was said by Bhavin, I think there's no harm in having reservation if we talk specifically of IRIA, because I've seen over the years when we were young and we started, actually most of the people on top in IRIA were women, starting Madam, then we had so many others who followed who were presidents of IRIA. And now it seems that it may never be possible, because it's a fact that ladies have been somehow withdrawing and holding back, and also because of all the politics that occurs, but then it's a political organization, and there is no harm in having reservation. As Gitanjali said, if there are 36% women, at least let's have 30% reservation. And I think I will bring that, some kind of amendment or something, and let's hope it goes through. That no one is against them. Let me say that, because ultimately, against women professionals, because they do as good a job, if not better. Because when they are on the job, they are totally occupied, whereas we guys may be a bit here or there. But so that is on the IRIA front. On the IR front, I used to be an interventional radiologist in the 80s till I got into MR and just gave it away. And this was in PGI Chandigarh where we trained, and we had all theses on interventional procedures, 84, 85, 86. My own thesis was on PTBD at that time. And the ladies initially were taking an equal part. I mean, we were 3 PGs, 1 lady, 2 guys. All 3 had IR. But what we've seen, because it's been much tougher. The turf wars have only gotten stronger over time. And also because maybe it requires a little more time and then follow up. Just as there are lesser women's surgeons, as in general surgery, similarly, somehow it is not that there is some male push that ladies should not do intervention. At least I have not found that in the institutions I have worked in. It is more that the women are more reticent coming into IR, And that's why they are not there. Exceptions like Ashu and Bhargav only go to prove the rule.
So there are solutions which, this is not the forum to discuss. Maybe if the IR bodies are interested in some chintan, we will give solutions. There are solutions if you want to find solutions. If you don't want to find solutions, there are no solutions. But things can be done to increase the proportion of women who do IR. In fact, to increase the proportion of radiologists who do IR. By, biting everybody's head off and doing tough battles, you are pushing IR away to non-radiologists by not training your radiologists enough.
Also, I would like to say that it's proved scientifically. Every good organization knows that if there is an equal participation by men and women, those organizations are more profitable. They make more profits. This is a well-known thing. So if our branch has to flourish, we need to have good representation of women. We will definitely do better.
Just a slightly different way of looking at it. I'm a staunch feminist, have worked in department where at a time, except the HOD and the peon, rest everybody was a female, including the technician and everybody. But having said that, I think sometimes it's also a question of choice that women make, especially with respect to governing bodies and IR, as you said. It's more than, it's not that we are discriminated against, but we choose not to because we think, maybe it's a misconception that we can't have the kind of work-life balance and maybe we cannot face the kind of challenges in governing bodies and all that. And then exactly as Ashu said, mentorship of somebody who's been there, like Dr. Sneh, Bhargav, somebody who's been there and says, yes, it's possible, it's practical, might help. Because I think more than discrimination, we choose not to take up these positions.
Simple, I would, do I want to be editor IJRI? Yes, I want to be. Do I want to run that election? No. Every time they ask me, will you run the election? I said, no. If you will give it to me on a platter, I take it, I can run the journal efficiently, but will I run an election? Never. Never.
So I have no, but even without election, if somebody would give me, would I want to? Probably no. So
I'm not interested, it doesn't matter, but I will never run an election.
So I did fight, I did fight the election once, I won. But the second time, when it came to doing the same thing, again I stood up, but I knew there was some reason why I was made to kind of, but
we want to wrap this, so I'll quickly go to Rochita, and I wanted her perspective. We find that there are a lot of women in government and academia because, like Dr. Ashu said, it's assured, right? Nobody can take away my job or my position because I go on X leave. Private places are more competitive, so I wanted her view of women in private institutes or corporates and or in private practice, and also how does she see the way forward, the future?
Are you asking specifically about academia? Corporate life. Corporate hospitals are about profitability. So if we are not there to make good profit for them, it does not make sense for them to employ me. I must give them that profit. And I cannot give them profit if I am not skilled. So for whether it's a woman or a man, in the corporate hospital, I need to make the referrals come to me. So in my specific situation, there is a scanner at my end, an equal scanner at just a few yards away in the main hospital, and we are pitted against each other, and we have to make the referrals come to us. That's how our life works. And about academia, nobody gives a damn whether you're academic or not in a private setup. You have to do it on your own time, with your own money, and you do not get any appreciation for that. So it is doubly hard for a woman to make it big in a corporate hospital, I feel. It is very difficult to make it to the top. And the one way which I was able to get where I did get is by engaging my clinical colleagues. I have always considered that I'm part of the clinical team. That's a department. this is not so much of a department, but that's where the department is. I'm part of the hepatobiliary team, I'm part of the, urology team and the heart team. So when I engage my clinicians into academics and, work with them, bring them new ideas, talk to them every day, I increase my reference. I do academic work with them, I publish papers with them, and automatically my remuneration starts going up. The management starts taking a look and interest at this person who's engaging people, and you start rising in the corporate world, your position starts rising. And that's how today I am a Director of Clinical Radiology, which is not an easy position to get at. So it is hard, but it can be fun. It's not a drudgery, it's exciting, it's fun, it is nice when you go out there and talk to your clinical colleagues and they stand up for you and say, okay, that's the radiologist I want to refer my cases to. She's the one I want to all my work done by, So it's fun.
Okay, we are out of time.
Her experience has been different. I have, at one point, when we had a mammo unit, which was just in my hospital alone, there was a rule that all screenings should be done by women. Okay, and we used to get 25, 30, and lady radiologists would not come saying, ma'am, we are worried that we will be stuck just scanning breasts, and that will not develop me. So a conscious decision had to be made by me, and telling them, no, you will work here for 2 months only, no matter what happens, and you have to rotate. It happens in corporate. Her experience, because I have like 10 PGs, and I need that women come here, but there is a difference, and we have to try to take an active effort to make a good gender balance.
Thank you so much for the participation. It was lovely. And the only thing, which is also man's idea, she said there's an American Association of Women Radiologists. So our take home from here is with, if there is consensus, we shall take that forward. Okay, and have a sisterhood. Thank you so much. I thank the organizers and
we really want to thank the organizers for giving us such a, happy forum.